Deuteronomy 32, the new song of Moses, verse 46 and 47. And he said unto them, set your hearts unto all the words which I testify among you this day, which you shall command your children to observe to do all the words of this law. This is the fifth commandment, the first commandment with promise. The fifth commandment is the first commandment with promise, to teach your children the 10 commandments. That's important. That's the last, basically that's the last verse in this Song of Moses, the new Song of Moses, I should say. It says in verse 47, for it is not a vain thing for you, for it is your life. This is the law of life and liberty. This is not talking about the sacrificial law. No, you don't sing a song about the sacrificial law because that's punishment. That's a curse. That was finished at Calvary when Messiah came and shed his blood to free us from the sacrificial law, to refresh the Holy Covenant and magnify the law and make it honorable. That's why he told the woman in adultery to go and sin no more. It's why now we got to rebuke our neighbor instead of stoning them, and we don't offer up animal sacrifices for sins. This is Moses singing the new Song of Moses. Go read it. Deuteronomy 31, 32, and 33, so you get the whole scope of things here. It says that it's not a vain thing for you. It is your life. And through this thing you shall prolong your days. Now, it says in the book of Malachi that, this end times generation would consider it a vain thing to serve God. Well, my brothers and sisters at straightasthegate.net, we're being shown this new Song of Moses, and it says only the 144,000 are going to be able to sing that new song, as it were a new song. We're not claiming to be them, but we're certainly rooting for them. And why not enter into the work now of a servant, a watchman who see eye to eye as we see that day approaching. We're blowing the trumpet. We're mourning for Zion. We're warning of coming destruction. Why is this important? Where it says in Scripture, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it's because there is no light in them. Isaiah 8, same chapter, Isaiah says, bind up the testimony, seal the law within my disciples. If you're going to be a disciple of Yeshua Messiah, you must be keeping the Holy Covenant, the 10 Commandments, also the covenants of promise. That's the law of life and liberty, including the royal law, because we do have to warn people and correct those that are in sin. But this is key. This might be the linchpin here of this new song, that he wraps it up and says, set your hearts unto all the words which I testify among you this day. This is Moses' testimony. Where else do we see testimonies like this, where you give a whole account of the history of the Israelites and their plight? Well, you see it with Stephen. You see what happened to him. He's got close to over 50 verses, I think, of uninterrupted rebuke of those wicked Pharisees of the southern kingdom, of the house of Judah, that was really a synagogue of Satan at that time, worshiping their god Moloch. And then Stephen goes on to say, and I will carry you beyond Babylon, quoting from Amos, which says, I will carry you beyond Damascus. He's talking of the dispersion. He's prophesying. He's speaking to the law and to the testimony. Paul does the same thing in Acts chapter 20. When he's departing from that church in Ephesus, he says, I've not ceased to warn you day and night with tears, that grievous wolves shall enter in after my departing, and they will corrupt the sound doctrine. He's prophesying. Those are the testimonies. He's certainly delivering the law, because Paul upheld the law. What he spoke against was the law of sin and death. That's why he said that circumcision is nothing and uncircumcision is nothing, but the keeping of the commandments of God. In Romans 7, verse 14, Paul says the law is holy, just, and good. He's not talking about the sacrificial law, because when Paul talks against the law, he's referring to the sacrificial law which was added for transgression until the seed would come. That's what he says in Galatians 3:19. In Colossians 2:14, he says that the ordinances that were contrary to us were nailed to the cross. Those are the ordinances that Ezekiel's referring to. Paul's quoting from Ezekiel chapter 20, and he's quoting from Ezekiel 20 and Deuteronomy 31, verses 24 through 26, where we learn that the handwriting of ordinances written by Moses as a witness on the side of the ark. Let's read it right now. Deuteronomy 31. Beginning in verse 19. This is a song for Israel, all 12 tribes. Moses is singing to all 12 tribes, not just Jews. Christians don't even know that they are the northern tribes that have been scattered into the Gentiles, and they've got a heart to serve God and to hear God, but they've been upended by this wicked Christian church with all their 45,000 denominations, and even the Torah movement is in error to the right. So you've been awakened to believe in God, and then you get hoodwinked by this hippie Christmas TV Jesus Baal replacement Messiah that Rome gave us to trick us all into lawlessness and idolatry and Sabbath breaking, and it worked. Look around. Deuteronomy 31 verse 19. Now therefore write ye this song for you, and teach it, there it is again, to the children of Israel. See, if it would have been taught to the children of Israel, we wouldn't be in this shithole we're in now, in this terrible situation. Put it in their mouths, that this song may be a witness for me against the children of Israel. A witness, a testimony to the law and to the testimony. If they don't speak according to this word, there's no light in them. There's certainly no light in those evening ravenous wolves who keep a Friday evening to evening polluted Babylonian Sabbath. A day begins at dawn. Even the birds know a day begins at dawn. Ask a child when a day begins. The day begins at dawn. You and I were born into a matrix where the day begins at midnight. And the Jewish tradition, they've made the commandments of God a none effect by their own Jewish Babylonian tradition. For when I shall have brought them into the land which I swear unto their fathers, that floweth with milk and honey, and they shall have eaten and filled themselves and waxen fat. Jeshurun has waxen fat. This whole church is waxen fat. Yep, they count themselves to a number that they're not even accounted to, because they don't even keep the Holy Covenant. And the Antichrist gains intelligence with the people who forsake the Holy Covenant in Daniel 11:30. Then will they turn unto other gods, small g gods, like hippie Christmas TV Jesus Baal, new gods that rose up recently, and serve them and provoke me and break my covenant. Guilty. And it shall come to pass, when many evils and troubles are befallen them, that this song shall testify against them. What song? This song that's coming in Deuteronomy chapter 32. For it shall not be forgotten out of the mouths of their seed. Those are the remnant, according to the election of grace, rising up in the last days. Romans chapter 11. For I know their imagination, which they go about, even now, before I have brought them into the land which I swear. Moses therefore wrote this song the same day, and taught it to the children of Israel. It's the 5th commandment, and it's the first commandment with promise. Verse 24, and it came to pass, when Moses had made an end of writing the words of this law in a book until they were finished. What does Messiah say in John 19? He says it is finished. What's finished? The sacrificial law. Because this song that he's writing, after he gives them the sacrificial law, is the warning. Don't be stuck under the sacrificial law. That sacrificial law is there as a witness against you. But if you keep the 10 commandments, you don't have to go, and you don't have to touch that mountain. For I know thy rebellion, verse 27, and thy stiff neck. Behold, while I'm yet alive with you this day, you have been rebellious against the Lord, and how much more after my death? That's the same thing Paul says about what's going to happen after his departure. It's the same thing Peter even says in his epistles about what's going to happen after his departure. Jude gives a testimony and says certain men had already crept in, turning the grace of God into lasciviousness. These are the testimonies to the law and to the testimony. Bind up the testimony and seal the law within my disciples. That's what the new Song of Moses sounds like. Give ye ear, O heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass. Because I will publish the name, Jehovah, of the Lord. Ascribe ye greatness unto our God. You know what? Yeshua Messiah in John chapter 17, verses 6, and John 17, verses 26. It's quoting directly from the new Song of Moses. He's gonna sanctify us in his word, and he's gonna do that with those who have not forgotten his name, who declare his name and will declare it. The Father's name is Jehovah. He sent his son Yeshua. Praise Yah. Praise Yah.